Hey YouTube, Williams JP 2004 here, going over a detailed write-up on how we perform the ignition swap on a Nissan 240SX in my previous videos. First things first, don't do this if you don't have at least a basic or possibly intermediate knowledge of electronics. You could seriously damage your car, even to the extent that you could cause electrical fires, okay? So we need to make sure that you don't perform this if you have no clue what you're doing. If I start to lose you, find somebody who knows what I'm talking about before you even try this, okay? Simple as that. This is a real basic electronic schematic that I've drawn up here. So just please keep that in mind. I don't want to be held responsible for damages to your car because you decided to follow some crazy guy's, instructions on YouTube, okay? Just keep that in mind. Always know what you're doing before you do it. Again, this video is strictly for a 1992 Nissan 240SX. And what we've got here is the ignition harness for that particular model of vehicle. It is labeled correctly 12X435. That's to help us follow better the ignition sequence that I'm going to show you next. The color codes on these pins are white with a red stripe, blue, black with a yellow stripe, black with a white stripe, and black with a green stripe. Now over here to the ignition sequence, what we've got is this is, if you did have the key still active as your primary ignition source, you can follow this, and this is going to tell you what each rotation of the key does. So whenever you put the key in, or if the key is out, you're obviously in off. There's nothing being charged there, so you don't have to worry about that. In the accessory position, or the first rotation of the key, you're going to have pins 1 and 2 on the harness are going to be active. On the on position, right before you actually crank the car and start it running, you're going to have pins 1, 2, and 3 active. And in the start or crank position, you're going to have pins 1, 3, 4, and 5 active. 2 is not active in that particular position of the key. Now, in the way that we've wired it up in our keypad emulation of a key, basically, it is active. I have not found a performance issue in that. It hasn't caused any problems. But if you would rather keep it the way it is here in the ignition sequence outlined in the factory service manual, leave me a comment and I will be more than happy to post another video showing you how to disable pin 2 whenever you push the start button to start the vehicle, which is the same thing as turning the key to the crank position. So we're going to go run over to the diagram showing you how everything works electronically, and we're going to kind of get to the nuts and bolts of things here. Alrighty, here we go. So you see pin 1 here. Pin 1 is actually constant power to the ignition circuit. So that is 12 volts constantly. Now, since your switch is open, you don't have to worry about a drain because it's not actually providing power to anything yet. So what we're going to want to do is, connect pin 1, or the white with a red stripe, to the one side of the switch. On the other side of the switch, you're going to have connected pin 2, 12 volt positive to the keypad, common on the keypad's built-in relay, and pin 30 on the 30 amp relay that we're going to use as a crank relay, and I'll explain that here in a minute. Okay, upon turning on the switch, you're getting accessories. Your 12 volt lighters should be going, and your radio and things like that. You should be able to use those kind of things that normally come on in the accessory position. It's also going to turn on the keypad, so you cannot use the keypad unless the switch is turned on. Now, whenever you do that, you're going to punch in the key that you've assigned, and that's going to close the relay in the built-in keypad to turn on the crank relay. Okay? And again, the reason that we did that is because we don't want to try to pull 30 amps through this little keypad relay, because it's probably not capable of it. So what we're doing is basically just using a keypad to tell another relay it's okay to crank the vehicle. So in doing so, you're turning that on, and you're turning on the switch inside the built-in 30 amp relay here that we're going to use. Is actually an external relay. I'm sorry, you're going to need a new one of those. And that's going to turn on the ability, or actually over here it's going to give you the on state. Pins 1, 2, and 3 will be hot because you've turned on the switch, so pins 1 and 2 are hot. You've turned on the keypad. Oops, sorry. You've turned on the keypad, and that turns on our relay here, which gives power to pin 3. Okay, so again, pins 1, 2, and 3 are hot after you've punched in the key on your keypad, and only after that. The next thing that's going to happen is all you have to do is, if you've got a standard transmission, step on the clutch and push the button, and that'll supply power to pins 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this particular build. That will start the car. It should start the car. If it doesn't, you might need to go back and look at what you've done in your own vehicle, because it does work exactly like this in the vehicle that I've done. Again, if you want to disable pin 2 in the crank position as stated here in the ignition sequence, just leave me a comment. I'll go ahead and show you how to add another relay to kill pin 2 on start. Okay, so again, just real quick, I like to go over things a lot to make sure that I'm thorough. I'm going to go over this a little bit slower. Pin 1 is connected to side 1 on the switch. When the switch is closed, it supplies power to pin 2, it supplies power to our keypad, it supplies power to the common on the relay built into the keypad, and it also supplies power to pin 30 on the 30 amp relay that we're using externally from the keypad to use as a crank relay. Okay, so now we've got power to the keypad. Let's go ahead and turn on the keypad by punching in your personal pin. That'll go ahead and turn on the relay inside the keypad, which will also in turn turn on the relay that we're using for the crank relay. And in doing so, by supplying power to pin 3 here, what you're going to do is connect pin 87 and pin 3 from the harness to one side of the start button. This is one that we found is rated at 60 amps at AutoZone. I don't remember how much it is. I believe it's $6 to $9, something like that. It's a pretty heavy-duty switch, so it's not a bad switch. On the opposite side of the switch, you'll connect both pins 4 and pins 5 from the harness to the switch. Okay? So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, or if I wasn't thorough enough, if you'd like me to go over something in more detail, just please leave me a comment in the comment section, and I'll be sure to try to get to that as quickly as I can. I am a pretty busy guy, and I hate saying that because I like to help people out. But just leave me a comment, and I'll try to get to you as quick as I can. Thanks again, you guys. Go ahead and rate and subscribe if you like, and hope to get to doing more videos for you guys. Thanks.